Chris Rostron, Head of Rugby League Cares. During these unprecedented times, we've been working closely with the RFL, the Rugby League World Cup and Super League to bring you the Rugby League United campaign. The campaign was designed to help the public in Rugby League to improve their general well-being and mental fitness during the lockdown. The campaign is funded by the mental health charity Mind, and we're asking all those that have had access to the support to provide us feedback through a completely anonymous survey online. The survey will only take you 2 minutes and it will provide us with the vital information we need to be able to continue to bring you these services absolutely free of charge. So, hopefully, you'll take part in the survey, which can be found via a link on the website below. So, to you, thanks for taking part in the campaign. We hope it's been of benefit to you all. But more importantly, thanks for supporting Rugby League and Rugby League Cares during these unprecedented times. Thank you.
Welcome to tonight's offload downloadable workshop. We've been doing these workshops on different types of mental health and well-being. Tonight's topic is negative thinking, and we'll be discussing all things challenging negative thinking. I'm not on my own, I've got a couple of guests with me. We've gone from either end of the spectrum, so it's a great honour for me. And we'll go with age before beauty. So welcome Colin Maskell. How are you today, mate?
Good evening, Keith. Good evening, everyone. Yes, very well. Just for those guys and the people watching who don't remember me, late 80s, early 90s, I started at Wakefield, went to Leeds, Casford, Featherstone, Doncaster, and then later coached at Casford, where I had the joy of coaching our other guest, along with coaching at Wakefield.
I'm going to say that's just taken up 10 minutes of the intro. You see, you can tell the age as well as myself, because I remember playing against you many, many years ago. So,
hey Keith, the crazy thing is, I remember it. Super League 1.
Well, I'm just showing my age, which I'm not happy about. But again, obviously, we've got two baldies, and we'll go to the other end of the spectrum. And we've got Sean Lunt. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. For those that don't know, my name's Sean Lunt. I've had quite a good career. You know, from a young Cumbrian lad, I've won some honours. I've done very well. I've sort of exceeded all my expectations as a youngster. But with all the glory that came with the sport, I contracted a disease called sepsis that nearly killed me. So for the last 18 to 20 months, I've had a lot of negative thinking, you know, going through, and obviously my family copping for it as well. So this is perfect for me to really, you know, get it off my chest and talk about it. And like you say, I've got you guys to bounce off. That's been magic.
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, this is going to be a little bit light-hearted at times, and we're not taking away the seriousness of it, because we need it to be a little bit light-hearted, like you say, so we can bounce off each other. But we're after your two thoughts on this topic anyway. So going on to the next slide. So it's nice and simple. So recognition of thoughts. What is a thought? And this is actually astounding. There's 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And you've just got to take into account that not all them thoughts are going to be positive. We always think about as physiological well-being when we're talking about health, going to the gym and fitness. We never think about the psychological side of things, which is mental and emotional state. If you've got so many thoughts going in your head, like I say, a lot of them are going to be negative. And we know when it comes to the cognitive therapy, theory, cognitive behavioural therapy, what we think affects what we feel. So that's the thinking pattern. So if you've got negative thoughts, then obviously you're going to be sort of like feeling a little bit down and feeling a little bit worse for wear as well, aren't you? So we try and dispel them thoughts, and we try and pick up tips, pick up traits, how we can make sure that we change that mindset so we can get some positive thoughts, so we can crack on with a happy life and a happy well-being. We've got a little bit of an activity. So I need you two boys to close your eyes. And I need you to take I don't want you to fall asleep with my dulcet tones. I know I've got a beautiful voice, but I don't want you to be falling asleep. But we've got a little bit of an activity here just to give you a little bit of insight into how the mind and the thought processes work. So I need you to close your eyes.
Hold on, get my glasses off.
You don't need to take your glasses off to close your eyes, Colin. Is that just so I can see that?
That's so you can see I've closed my eyes. I know what your eyes are like.
Right, so I just need you to imagine that you're at home in your kitchen. I want you to pick up a bright yellow lemon, put it on the chopping board, and I want you to start cutting it into pieces. As bigger pieces that you want, so we'll use a little bit of an imagination here as well. So you're cutting away this lemon into pieces. You can smell the acidity. I want you to pick up a piece of that lemon, and I need you to move it towards your face. Start sniffing it, taking in the smell, and then I need you to put it into your mouth and bite into it. Then I need you to open your eyes. So basically with the thought processes that goes into your mind here, so how were you feeling when I was talking through that? Obviously we'll take away the Yorkshire accent and the deep gruff voice, but when we're explaining something like, sucking on a lemon, what was the processes that were starting to go on in your brain and your mouth and everything that were going along with it?
My initial thought, Keith, was I've never really liked lemon, so I was waiting for the sour taste. So I'm waiting for that sour taste to it, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I've gone through, like, I don't mind lemons because I drink a lot of lemon water, so I chop them up and put them in my water, so I know what it's about. So I sort of anticipated what it was actually going to be like. So again, my sort of taste buds was ready for it, and ready to sort of get that taste of the bitterness of the lemon.
Yeah, and that's because, like I say, your mouth started to saliva and you started to get a few sensations. And that's because the mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. You produce the same sort of like feelings, so it just shows how effective our thoughts can be for how we act and our behaviour, with the thinking patterns on what we go through. Types of negative thinking. So I'll quickly go through this because we're going to spend a little bit of time on this because there's plenty of types of negative thinking. So we've got the all or nothing type of thinking. Some call it black and white thinking. If I'm not perfect, I have failed. Either I do it right or not at all. Mental filter, only paying attention to certain types of evidence. Jumping to conclusions, which I think a lot of people are guilty of. There are two types of jumping to conclusions. Mind reading, which is anybody a mind reader? Imagine know what other people are thinking, and fortune telling. Emotional reasoning, assuming that because we feel a certain way, what we think must be true. I feel embarrassed, I must be an idiot. So again, we're putting all sorts of thoughts into his head. Labeling, we've all done this, assigning labels to ourselves and making ourselves a lot worse than what we are. Completely useless and such an idiot. Start with you, Colin. Is there anything there that triggers something that's happened throughout your career that you can tell a story on?
I think, to be honest, you can see elements of every one of those types of negative thinking across all aspects of a 20-year career in both playing and coaching, and especially from the all or nothing thinking, and that I can hark back to early in my career when a certain coach didn't particularly want to pick me. And when you think of that, you think, hold on a minute, am I a perfect fit for this team? Do I actually warrant a place in this team or not? And again, that could really run into jumping to conclusions. And it's when a coach makes that kind of decision on a young kid's career, it can impact massively on it. And it's only from a few years on my back and the experience gained in the game that you understand that there's different ways of dealing with these types of negative thinking.
And that's it, negative feelings of helplessness. You would have felt a lot of helplessness there because of the way that you were feeling, and they can create chronic stress which upsets the body's hormonal balance. which then depletes brain chemicals, which reoccur during the happiness feeling, which is damaged. But then it also affects the immune system, so it can affect your health as well. So not only what the mind is thinking, it can also help you. It can affect your health and your well-being as well. So I think we can all associate to that in a way. Runty, have you got anything that you can add to this, bud?
Yeah, I've got a really big point that really stood out in my early career. When I was working under the coach early on, when I came from working to Huddersfield, Nathan Brown was ruthless in videos. So you go into videos and your anxiety levels will be through the roof. You'd be thinking about the things that you'd done before in the game, and you'd be thinking, and you just sat there waiting, for that clip, and you just sort of, you'd feel like an inch tall. You'd feel so embarrassed, and and you know what? He didn't mean it that way. All he was trying to do is just to show you, and it was probably the best thing as well, because he told you how it was. And a lot of people these days, they don't like the truth. They want it all buttered up, don't they? They want it like, all put it in a nice little rose, cart, and like, so you've not done this wrong. But sometimes it's best just to say, listen, Lunty, you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong, sort it out. Whereas it got to a point where I'd be playing on a Sunday, and if I'd made a mistake in that game, I'd already be thinking about what's Nathan going to be saying to me in the video the next day. And then come to the night time, as we all know as players, the sleep after the game is atrocious. You don't sleep there. So then you don't sleep, you wake up in the morning, you feel rotten as it is, and then you're going into a video session with all your teammates there, and you're getting smashed. But the embarrassment's there, and then what you tend to do is you tend to go in your little circle, don't you? You tend to close up, and that was one of my biggest things growing up. And then it wasn't until I got a bit older that it didn't bother me, but I just think that was experienced, growing up as a man.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Lunty, with regards to your attitude changed to the video sessions as you got more experience.
Yes,
because
yeah.
I'd obviously had experience of being in the video sessions myself.
Yeah.
Being at the brunt of not the criticism, but the sometimes negative feedback. But then, from a coaching perspective, when you're trying to give constructive feedback to young kids, you can see the reaction. That sometimes you can see that negative reaction, and it does have a real impact on younger players specifically.
I think some of the topics that you brought up there, Runty, and some of when you're talking about stress, sleep deprivation, they're causes of negative thoughts, which we talk about illness, exhaustion, stress, hunger, sleep deprivation. So are a cause of negative thoughts. So then that can lead into depression. So it's a vicious circle, them negative thoughts. It can be deeper.
Yeah, and going on with that, Keith, as well. Like, so, for instance, my biggest Achilles heel, I've got two. It's sleep. If I've not had enough sleep, I'm the crankiest person in the world. And then when I feel down, I turn to food. So it was that. So playing on a Sunday and then going in on a Monday and then Tuesday, Wednesday, it was atrocious because I was trying to eat just to sort of make myself feel better, and then trying to catch up on your sleep and then training. It was awful. It was like I just didn't know what was going on in my head. I didn't know how to filter it. I didn't know how to. My biggest thing was running away from problems. So instead of going to speak to Nathan and just say, Nathan, I feel like I'm getting sort of belittled. Can we do it a different way? I didn't do that. So I should have just went to Nathan and said, Nathan, I feel really belittled, and like my confidence is not there no more. Please, could you approach it a different way? But because we're so macho in rugby and we want to say like everything's okay, you don't do it, do you not? And like when you're in it, you like your thought process is just all over the place.
Yeah.
Sorry, Keith. For me, it's only when you're away from the sport and you look back that hindsight's a wonderful thing, because back in the late 80s and early 90s, there was no such thing as the mental awareness side of the sport, and in life as a whole, you used to just have to get on with it. But when you with hindsight and looking back, I should have dealt with a number of situations that arose. But when you look, everything has like a trigger effect. You look at the types of negative thinking that we're talking about, and a lot of them lead into one another. When you think of the all or nothing thinking, you know, and jump into conclusions, and then all of a sudden it rolls into the emotional reasoning and labelling.
And I think that's a valid point again, is the fact that this is what these workshops are about, because everybody goes through these negative thoughts and these processes. And as a young kid, as you were playing the game, you couldn't control them, you couldn't manage them, and you didn't know how to handle them. So as you've got older and you've got the experience, as we've all not got as much experience as Colin, but you learn from your mistakes, and these are the coping mechanisms and the strategies that we're trying to discuss today a little bit as well. So obviously we've got a few more types of negative thinking here: the overgeneralizing, seeing a pattern based upon a single event, or being overly broad in the conclusion we draw; disqualifying the positive, discounting the good things that have happened or that you have done for some reason or another. That doesn't count. Magnification, catastrophizing, blow things out of proportion, which everybody does, or inappropriately shrinking something to make it seem less important. Critical words, using critical words again, so how we speak, how we talk to each other can be applied in that way. Personalization, blaming yourself for taking responsibility for something that was completely your fault, which the personalisation one, I could say everybody in their life's probably been associated with that massively, and we will have done in game situation anyway. So have you got anything else there, Colin, lad?
No, when I look back at, you know, my career from a playing perspective, there's a lot of these pointers that crop up on a regular basis, especially from a personalisation perspective. You know, when you can sometimes take it really personal when the team as a whole doesn't perform well. And, you know, instead of sharing the blame, as it were, and sharing the responsibility of a team performance, sometimes you can take it on your own shoulders. And obviously that has a massive, massive impact on your own well-being.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the disqualifying the positive. A lot of us have probably done that. You know, you could have had a blinder of a game and then you'd end up dropping the ball or doing something wrong, and that would take over your full thought processes on that game and just disqualify everything else that you did in the game, because you'd be magnifying that negative part of the game, which technically, you know, is such a bad thing. Have you got anything else extra, Hunter?
Yeah. And on that as well, so for instance, what a lot of people don't realise, like in a game, there's hundreds and thousands of so many scenarios that can happen in that game, right? And one might happen in the first minute of the game, right? And you don't think anything of it, right? But that one that happens at the last minute of the game that might cost you the game, right? But not necessarily does that cost you the game, because you maybe had like 4 or 5, 20, 50 of scenarios that you could have scored or you could have prevented a try, but just because that's the last one, that's the one that's stuck in your head, and like that's when you go to bed, don't you? You're thinking about what you've done wrong rather than just saying, well, do you know what? As a team, we've made mistakes. Let's get back into training tomorrow, stick together as a team, and go forward from it and learn from it, rather than the whole like just taking the world on your shoulders and say it's all been me, because that's not true.
That's when the critical words kick in. It's when you sit down and analyse that final play and you're running it over and over and over in your mind. I should have done that. I ought to have done that. The amount of times you're involved in a game with your hands on the ball and a split decision, you know, can make the, you know, winning or losing a game, passing to the right or passing to the left, and that's purely a decision-making process. When you've got 2 halfbacks screaming for the ball's giving you the overcall, and you've got to give the ball to the halves, and then all of a sudden you either win or you lose.
Yeah, well, I had one actually this season, and I was playing against Keith's team, Sheffield. I went for a drop goal. If it went over, I was a hero, but it didn't. Do you know what I mean? It was the right time to do it, but it didn't go over. And we had 3 or 4 different chances within that, extra time period. But because I had the balls to go ahead and do it, it's one of those things you have in the hero or the villain. I missed it completely. But at the same time, then I come up the field and think that I've lost us a game. But there's so many more opportunities that we could have had a go of a drop goal.
Did you feel that impacted on you, Lunty? Negatively?
Yeah, it did. It did, because I went away and I felt like everyone blamed me. Yes, people had like jokes and stuff like that, which is fair enough. We all get that, but then there's also that saying that there's many a truth being said in jest as well. Do you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, how I look at it now that I'm older, I'm 33 now. Like, I had the balls to try it at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? So, like, early on in my career, I probably would have went right in on myself and really, like, you know, got down on myself. But now I'm thinking, well, do you know what? Nobody else wanted to do it. I wanted to win the game. I had a go, and I lost. So what? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those, goes over, hero, didn't go over, I'm the villain.
Sometimes as well, in my view, it all depends the makeup of the team, and you know, who are the strong characters in the side in key positions. You know, when you look back at some of the players that we had at Leeds, you know, I'm talking about Leeds in particular. You know, you got Gary Schofield, and you got, you know, Dave Aaron, and you know, some of the overseas players that we had with Cliff Lyons earlier in my career with John Holmes. Really strong characters who would, you know, be wanting to make decisions.
Yeah. Well, me and Keith, we've had the same, didn't we? Obviously, we never played with each other, but we played with the same crop of players, didn't we? You know, with your Kev, your Magsies, that weren't bothered about stepping up and having a go. Do you know what I mean? And they're the people, you know, that they've got the balls to actually try it. Do you know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10, it comes off and you're the hero, but there's always that one time that it might not.
Yeah.
I know, especially as well, the situation that you've come from. You've come from a full-time environment into a part-time. You know, so straight away you've got that added pressure. Because basically, people have got more of an expectation of you.
Yes, yeah, that's 100% true, Keith. 100%.
Yeah, and they're looking at you to lead.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm trying to do my best, but sometimes, like you say, your best isn't good enough on days. So that's it.
Yeah, so moving on now, we're looking at the ABC model. So we've got some examples of this and something that we can talk through, and obviously there'll be rugby instances that we can relate to. So the ABC model basically is the activating event into the beliefs, into the consequences. So for an example here, person one, person two, they've got both doing the same. Activating event is jumping out of a plane. So then your beliefs and your thought processes. One guy's going to be positive. He's thinking it's amazing, going to love it. It's going to be the best thing ever. The other guys or the other person is believing he can't do this. He's going to die. Something's going to drastically go wrong. So straight away, that affects the consequences of the outcome. So feeling of excitement, wants to do it again. It's been a massive buzz because he had a positive feeling going into it. Whereas if you've got a negative feeling, the stresses, the frustration, basically doesn't want to do it again because you haven't really enjoyed the situation. So when it goes into a rugby league situation, person one knocking on, which we've all done many, many times, your beliefs, I've just cost my team the game, or your beliefs again, I need to make up for mistake, consequences, feeling of stress, frustration, and doesn't want to carry the ball again. As a young kid, massively, that was something that I had in my head. And then the feelings of excitement and wants to carry the ball again and again and again. So like you're saying, you know, with that drop goal effort that you did, your consequences, you did miss up, but it doesn't mean that it might not happen again. Hopefully you've learned from your mistakes or your techniques and you've got a little bit better, but you've still got them thought processes that you would do it again.
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate to play under Maskey because Maskey taught me how to kick a ball. And when I left Maskey under 21s and went into the first side, nobody wanted me to kick a ball because say if I did one bad kick, it was don't kick a ball again. Not try again, you know, try that kick again. It was do not kick a ball again. Where Maskey used to always say, try and kick. Even if you've done a bad kick, try again. And then I went to Workington and then I had a coach that sort of encouraged me to kick. And then I'd be getting 40-20s and stuff like that. And then when I went back to full-time to Huddersfield, I weren't allowed to kick again. So it just shows you the different coaches that put that belief in you. So when I was jumping out, I was thinking, well, if I mess this kick up, I'm going to get screwed by the coach here. Do you know? So and then when I'm kicking it, I'm having like sort of like a mini panic attack, you know, and I'm thinking, if this goes wrong, I'm going to get my ass slapped here by the coaches, do you know what I mean? So, like you say, it's
thinking about the negative side of it, which is creating the anxiety, which would then affect your skill in the game.
Yes, 100%.
So just joking aside here, so what we can, at Sheffield, we can congratulate Colin for your kicking technique and allowing us to win the game this season.
No, he never told me how to drop goal.
No, I've got two left feet for drop goals.
Outstanding. So basically, a little bit of a recap. So again, we have thousands of thoughts. Every day it's important that we recognise both positive and negative. Negative thoughts are always the worst because as a player, I was quite a negative type of trainer. You know, Chev Walker and all people like that.
No, not you. You were never negative, were you? You always loved training, didn't you, Keith? You loved it.
that was it. It was the fact that I absolutely despised training. Absolutely. But I saw there was a means to a way. You know, I had to get through that training, you know, to because of the outcome was the game. But that was my drive, you know. Sometimes the negative talk isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's when it affects you is when it starts being bad. So we have thoughts. We need to recognise them and challenge them with evidence and examples of positive outcomes. Using the ABC model, we can convert negative thinking to positive thinking. What actions are you going to take to convert negative thinking to positive thinking? And I think this is a good one for you, Colin.
I'm just going to try and make sure that every time I have negative thoughts and try and make sure that I twist it round and try and get into the positive way of thinking without letting it impact on what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
Have you got anything to add on to?
Yeah, for me, obviously, I had that, obviously, the shock of sepsis. So my outlook from then has totally changed. So I don't want to be sort of like a positive Paul about it all, because I know that, you know, these negative thoughts happen and there's nothing you can do about it. So you have to hit them head on. And for me, like I touched on earlier, I used to run from problems. That was my fight or flight. I used to always run. When now I'm just I just look at them, evaluate them, and then just try and make a positive from a negative, you know. So for instance, at rugby, when I get home from work, the last thing I want to do is go and play rugby because I'm sat down, I'm relaxed. But then I think, do you know what? Once I get there, I'll be all good. I'll be with the lads. I'll be having the crack and it'll be good. I enjoy it and I still do. So that's how I sort of talk to myself and say, listen, yeah, you're feeling crappy now, but it's just like a state of mind right now. Whereas get in there with the boys, have a laugh, and then you'll enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? So that's sort of my thought process behind it all now.
Yeah.
On the back of that, Keith, sorry, when my thought process is very similar to Lunty in the aspect of the thought process to take over and like Lunty, deal with it head on. Because again, like in the past, I've been guilty of allowing the negative thoughts to overtake, you know, my mindset. But, you know, deal with them head on. Don't be afraid to deal with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just going to give you a few tools, you know, just to help clear your mind of negative thinking. Some simplistic things which can start with changing your body language. How your body language is can be a reflection of what you're thinking. If you need to talk it out, if there's somebody that you can speak to, just talk about the negative thinking, negative thoughts that you have. Spend time calming your mind. So the mindfulness, you know, just clear your mind. And if it's just something to focus on, just spend that time just to clear your mind and try and get rid of them negative thoughts. Change the tone of your thoughts. So if you're having these negative thoughts, how do you change them into positives? Sometimes, like you say, it can just be the thought processes of something that happened in the changing room. It makes you laugh straight away. You're thinking positive and it puts you in a good mood. Be creative. It takes your mind off what you're thinking. You know, get out there, do something different. If you're playing the guitar or something, focus on that. It takes your mind. It keeps your mind occupied. go for a walk. Something as simple as that, just getting out into the fresh air and appreciating what's out there and taking note. And last one, start listing what you were grateful for. I think that's coming into a lot of people's lives at the moment. It's the fact that talking about what you are actually grateful for and realising what you're grateful for. So straight away that does put you into a positive thought process.
Yeah.
How are we all feeling now, boys?
All good, all good.
Yeah.
I think it's everything that's coming out of these different modules from Rugby League Care are really having a positive impact on the rugby league community.
Yeah, and
I think
I said before on the social media, I think us as rugby league, especially Rugby League Cares, I think we're at the forefront runners. I really do. I think we're leading by example. I don't think obviously I'm at university and there's a lot of footballers on there, and they're nowhere near close to us in what they're doing for the players. They really aren't, and I like to say, Rugby League Cares it's fantastic, and obviously we've got this persona of being big, tough men, so it's a lot. People think it's a lot harder for us to talk and explain our things, but I think it's brilliant, mate. I've always been one that I'm not I don't shy away from saying that I don't feel well. I don't, you know what I mean? No, I'm going through a bad patch, because I look at it like this: if I'm going through a bad patch and I can confide in someone and tell them, well, I'm feeling this way because of A, Y, and Z, well, if that person is to then take the piss out of me and use that, it says more about them than what it does about me, And also, the moment that you get off your chest what's bothering you, no one's got that over you anymore, so you don't feel like someone's got that, that bit of banter of you, so if you're having a bit of banter in the changing rooms, it can sort of come and blow your legs away with it, whereas if you just get it out there in the open, it takes everyone's ammunition away from you.
Yeah, and I think that's what the beauty of these workshops are. We're peeling away the layers and we're showing that we are human and we have vulnerabilities, and I think that's what's important in a way. If we can open up about these types of things, it's going to be great for the next generation of kids coming through. Seeing, some of the heroes that are still playing now, being able to open up and say, you know what, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. Yeah. I'm not, I do go through tough times and I do go through problems, but to make sure that we can focus on that and work on it.
Yeah, it's key that we don't show that it's a sign of weakness when people are struggling, because people struggle in every walk of life. In every walk of in every profession that's out there. In the general public, people struggle day to day with different aspects of mental health. So it's key that we do get out there and help everyone.
Yeah, 100%, masculine.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously we're not trained professionals. We've got
not at all.
A bit of life experience, but if anybody is struggling and they do need help, there's Samaritans at the phone number there, which is free. We've got Campaign Against Living Miserably, which is available for you, and the Hub of Hope websites there as well. And obviously Rugby League Cares. Anybody has any issues, no doubt they could get hold of Runty and myself. I don't think Colin will be on social media, but if anybody does need to reach out, I'm sure myself and Runty would happily accommodate and help in any way that we can. I'd like to thank the two guests tonight and thank you for the stories. It's been invaluable and a great. And it has been an insight and a great help, hopefully, for people that are watching this. So I'd just like to thank you and appreciate everything that you've said tonight.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Lunty. Take care, guys.
Oh, thank you, fellas. It's two people that I've looked up to all my career, so I feel very honourable to be alongside you guys talking about this. So thank you very much.
Cheers. Cheers, boys.
Make us feel even older. Cheers, mate.
That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to get my Zimmer frame out now.